What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Sperato. Today I'm going to be profiling what I think might be the cutest deck I ever profiled before, deadass. It's Dragonmaids. Dragonmaids are really interesting. You can either take them the combo route where they make a million negates, you know, just like any other dragon deck at the cost of taking up literally all of your deck space, or you can take the route that I prefer and what I'm profiling today, which is the pure variant. It's a very slow deck, but it outgrinds the living Christ out of your opponent, kind of like Sky Strikers, but less toxic. It's a whole lot of fun, and this is definitely like the route I prefer to go when it comes to Dragonmaids. So what is the goal of pure Dragonmaids? Well, they don't end on a ton, like I said. It's pretty much Hieratic Seals plus Dragonmaid Tiding, and they're very consistent at doing this, but usually that's not enough to end your opponent's turn. However, if you combine this with really powerful blowout trap cards, then all of a sudden it becomes really problematic for your opponent, because these cards, Dragonmaid Tiding and Hieratic Seals, gain you a shit ton of advantage. It's not all about the bounces. So without further ado, let's get into the card by card. To start things off, we got the most important Dragonmaid at 3 copies. 3 copies of Chamber Dragonmaid. When she is normal or special summoned, you will add a Dragonmaid spell trap from your deck to your hand. This is really good because this can either get you into your Dragonmaid Tiding, which is an interruption, and it'll special summon something from your grave the next turn, or you can go into Dragonmaid Hospitality to get a free Hieratic Seal. So there's a ton of different things that you can do with this card, and she's just by far the most versatile and important Dragonmaid in the deck. Also, at the start of the battle phase, all Dragonmaids share this effect. They'll return themselves to the hand and special summon a higher level dragon from hand or graveyard. However, Chamber Dragonmaid is special because she can summon literally any of them. Any 7 or higher Dragonmaid monster from your hand or grave can be special summoned. So not only your big main deck Dragonmaids like these ones, but also your fusions if they find themselves in the graveyard. So that's really powerful. The only downside is that she is a level 4, meaning these bigger Dragonmaids can't actually return her back onto the field after the battle phase like they can with all the other Dragonmaids. Moving along, we got what I believe is the second most important Dragonmaid in the deck, Parlor Dragonmaid. So when this card is summoned, whether it's normal or special summon, you send one Dragonmaid card from your deck to the grave. It can be a spell trap, it can be a monster, it doesn't matter. And I run this at 3 copies because she's just such a good normal summon for the deck, just like Chamber Dragonmaid. I wouldn't say she's as good as Chamber, but you know, she gets the job done. She can send Tiding to the grave to get a free monster reborn. She can send whatever Dragonmaid you want to special summon from the grave if you have an extender. She can send Changeover to get you into a fusion monster. She can do a whole lot. She also has the effect that all the other Dragonmaids share to tag out into a big Dragonmaid from your hand or grave, except she's a level 3, so she'll actually return back onto the field if you summon your Lorpar or the red one, whose name I just can't pronounce for whatever reason. But yeah, she's going to be able to tag out into these guys, and these guys are going to be able to tag back out into Parlor, which is pretty nice. An easy trick that you can actually do with Parlor Dragonmaid if you want to get a quick fusion is if you have your Dragonmaid Lorpar or the red one in the graveyard, you can normal summon her, send Changeover, go into the battle phase, tag out into one of these, bounce them back into the hand with Changeover, and then boom, you have your Dragonmaid Xiao Negate. Next up, we probably got what is the worst Dragonmaid, but you know, she's still a Dragonmaid name, and that's why we're running her. We're running 2 copies of Kitchen Dragonmaid. So if she's normal or special summon, you add a Dragonmaid monster from your deck to your hand, and then you can discard a Dragonmaid afterwards. So this is kind of like a worse Parlor effect. It's basically saying you can send any Dragonmaid monster to your grave and not your spell traps. So there's not a whole lot you can do with her. However, she is good in combination with your Monster Reborn spells, such as Monster Reborn and Dragonmaid Hospitality, World Legacy Guard Dragon, stuff like that. So usually you open one of those cards and that allows her to be like full combo. She just doesn't do enough on her own to warrant playing at 3, and she can be quite bricky, but I felt like 2 was the perfect ratio for Dragonmaid Kitchen. She also tags out into a level 8 just like Parlor Dragonmaid, meaning she can go into the red one or the green one, but she can't go into the pink one pretty much. Then we got Nurse Dragonmaid. We're only running it as a 1-of, but she actually is really insane. So when she's normal or special summoned, you can target a level 4 or lower Dragonmaid monster in your grave and then special summon it onto the field. You're pretty much using this as a Hieratic Seal target to give you a whole ton of advantage. So when you make a Hieratic Seal, you're basically going to get refunded because you're going to tribute it to bounce something back to your opponent's hand, and then it'll get triggered to special summon a dragon from deck. You'll summon the Nurse, and then Nurse will summon something like Chamber or Parlor to net you a whole ton of card advantage. Plus you have some dragon bodies on the board to help you survive that battle phase, and they can tag out into the bigger dragons. So this card is just a one of because you want to bounce it off seal. You can recycle it very easily, and it's not really a starter card, it's just a very solid extender for the deck. Then of course we have the big dragons that we tag out with the DRAGONMAID monsters. We have the DRAGONMAID, I'm not pronouncing that. You can read it yourself. This thing I run as a one of. I also run a single copy of Lorpar, and I run a single copy of Ernest, because I forgot to mention Nurse can only tag out into Ernest and none of the other ones, because she can only go into a level 7, which is pretty funny. But yeah, so they all have effects in hand, so they're all really bad though. So this one will boost your DRAGONMAID monster by 2000 attack, which is helpful for getting over towers. This one is like a really shitty effect veiler. You discard it and your opponent can't activate that monster's effects for the rest of the turn. Doesn't even negate it, so it can't get you over, you know, something like an Axis code with a ton of attack. But, you know, it's something, I guess. And then Ernest probably has the best one, allowing you to special summon a DRAGONMAID monster from your hand. But pretty much all these big dragons are beat sticks that you're going to send to the graveyard with DRAGONMAID Hospitality and DRAGONMAID Lorpar to give you a little bit of a punch when you go into the battle phase, and to also just net you a ton of card advantage. Plus you need them in order to go into your fusion monsters. They're just kind of mandatory for the deck. They don't do anything insane. Then we got what I'm calling the Honorary DRAGONMAID, 3 copies of Noctivision Dragon. Again, I want to make Heretic Seals as consistently as possible, so that's why I'm running 3. If you have any DRAGONMAID, you can do this. You can link into Striker Dragon, special summon a Noctivision Dragon from your hand, and then you can link it off, which it'll draw 1 card. You got Heretic Seals, and then while it's in the graveyard, it can protect your set cards once by banishing itself to protect them if they get targeted, and then your opponent can't target those cards for the rest of the turn. So it's a very insane card. It has a ton of synergy with DRAGONMAID, that's why I'm playing it. You can also play Pot of Prosperity instead of this if you want to look for more specific cards, but I just thought this made more sense. It just has way too much synergy not to run. I also don't like banishing my extra deck, which is a really important resource in this deck, but yeah, Noctivision is the way for me. For the spells, it's pretty much all Monster Reborns. We literally have Monster Reborn in here, you know, the one of. And then we have 3 DRAGONMAID Hospitality. So this lets you special summon a DRAGONMAID from your hand or grave, and then you can send a DRAGONMAID that's a higher level with a corresponding attribute. So if you special summon Kitchen DRAGONMAID, you'll send the red one to the grave. If you special summon Parlor, you'll send Lorpar. And this is great whether you want to do a 1-card combo with Chamber DRAGONMAID to make Heretic Seals, or if you want to extend from the hand. It's just a really good extender for a pure DRAGONMAID deck. You also have 2 World Legacy Guard Dragon, which special summons a level 4 lower dragon from your grave, and then you can move its column wherever you want. So if you want to go into Guard Dragon Pisty plays, you can. But this is just, again, another Monster Reborn, another way to get a free Heretic Seals and net you a ton of advantage. So we're just playing 2 with the 1 Monster Reborn, because I guess it wouldn't make sense to play 3 of these because Monster Reborn is just the better card. We also have the fusion spell DRAGONMAID Changeover. This card's actually pretty insane. So when it's in the graveyard, you can bounce a DRAGONMAID monster from the field back to your hand and then add this to your hand. Otherwise, it's polymerization. It just fusion summons your Xiao or your House DRAGONMAID. And you only need 1 of it because it will constantly bring itself back from the graveyard, which is incredibly nice. I know some people run 2 because they're afraid of DD Crow, but that's like a 0.1% chance of freaking happening, and it's honestly not that important to your strategy. Like, your turn 1 end board isn't getting this card into Xiao, it's Heretic Seals and Tidying, and eventually working your way up to getting this naturally without, you know, sacrificing a ton of resources, because this does make you neg quite a bit. You want to wait until you're a little bit more set up with a full-ass hand and, you know, you're outgrinding your opponent. So this is more of like a mid-game card. We also have 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet. I'll talk about this more later. It makes more sense when we talk about the traps. So let's talk about the DRAGONMAID trap first. We're playing 3 copies of DRAGONMAID's Hiding. It's the only DRAGONMAID trap we're playing because the other one is not that good. This just allows you to target a dragon monster you control, add it back to your hand, then bounce something back to your opponent's hand, whether it's from their field or their grave. Very good removal, really nice against decks that like the graveyard, like Shadal's. This is amazing against Shadal's. Bounce back construct, don't trigger any effects, it goes back to the extra deck. Against Virtual World, you can bounce like Shen Shen, and then Shen Shen can't come back from the graveyard. And then the next turn, when this card's in the graveyard, you can banish it to special summon a DRAGONMAID from your grave. So this not only allows you to interrupt your opponent, but it also allows you to outgrind your opponent by getting a bunch of DRAGONMAIDs on the field with relative ease. And that's kind of, like I said, what the deck's playstyle is. Don't end on much, but eventually just kind of snowball. and this card really helps you do that. It's also just like a good extender if you want to send it off Parlor. Then as you can see, we're running a ton of blowout traps. Now let me explain why I'm going trap cards over hand traps, because there's a huge misconception that, ooh, trap cards in 2022, they're bad, they're too slow. Not really. So hand traps don't really work that well with this deck when you're playing it pure, because they're 1-for-1 trades. Ash Blossom's gonna negate maybe a draw 2 at most, but they usually are just using that to bait out the Ash anyways. Effect Veiler, Imperm, they're only negating 1 card, they aren't breaking a board. Maxi is just going to get negated. 9 times out of 10 it's getting negated. Everyone's so afraid of it. They're running 2 Called Bys, 3 Crossouts, 3 Ash Blossoms, or they're just playing a straight up trap deck. So Maxi just does nothing in Master Duel right now, in my opinion. So for a deck that doesn't have a lot of interruptions, I would rather run big blowout trap cards that are good going first and going second. So we got 3 copies of Torrential Tribute. When a monster summoned, destroy all monsters on the field. Very simple, very clean board wipe card that's good going first or going second. Then we got 3 copies of Ice Dragon's Prison, same exact thing. Really nice board breaker. You target a monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon it. If it's the same type as a monster your opponent has on the field, you get to banish those 2. This is amazing against Eldritch. The smart Eldritch players that are running 2 Golden Lords, if they accidentally have a Golden Lord in grave and a Golden Lord on field, you can get rid of all of their Golden Lords in one swoop. But unfortunately, most people play 3 for whatever reason. I don't know how they don't brick, to be honest, but still, it's a good card even if they are running 3 Golden Lord. It makes it very easy to deal with Eldritch, and that's why I think this deck has a pretty decent Eldritch matchup. But this can break pretty much any board though. Like, this is just non-targeting removal to get rid of anything problematic, and that's why I love it so much. And that makes it really good at going second as well. We also got 3 copies of Rivalry of Warlords. This is the only floodgate that Dragon Maids are able to run, which is unfortunate because I feel like Gozen and Tikaboo are a little bit better. But this card's still mad good, especially in this current meta with Master Duel. So each player can only control 1 type of monster, and you have to send all the other ones to the graveyard if they already control cards. So going first is just like a floodgate. They can't really play anymore if their whole extra deck is a bunch of different types of monsters. Or going second, they have a bunch of different types of monsters usually, and then you flip it up and then they have to send them all to the graveyard. Now I know there's going to be somebody in the comments telling me, oh, well, meta decks have negates on board, so traps are too slow to go second. Well, here's the thing. These board breaker trap cards, we're playing them with 3 copies of Solemn Strike. Solemn Strike allows you to negate a monster effect and destroy that monster, and it's a counter trap, so your opponent can't react to it unless they have another counter trap. It's spell speed 3. So let's say your opponent has Herald of Ultimateness on board and you drew Solemn Strike plus Torrential Tribute, no problem. Set the Solemn Strike, set the Torrential Tribute, pass turn, don't do anything with your Dragon Maids because it's just going to get negated. They summon 1 monster, Torrential Tribute, and then they try and negate with Herald of Ultimateness, flip up Solemn Strike, negate and destroy it, boom, you broke the board. And now I know there's going to be more comments like, well, there's only 3 Solemn Strikes, so that's not going to be good enough. Well, first of all, if you draw multiples of these traps, that can be good enough for certain decks that aren't Drytron, because Drytron has infinite negates, let's be honest. But for decks that might end on like 1 Borreload Savage, a Rivalry plus a Torrential or a Torrential plus an IDP is usually going to be enough to win. But we also have 3 copies of Forbidden Droplet, which is kind of like a pseudo Solemn Strike. So I said we would go back to this card, and that's why I wanted to explain the traps first. So this is just 3 Solemn Strikes, more Solemn Strikes, because this is technically a spell speed 3 negate because your opponent can't respond to the type of card you discard. So if you discard a monster with this card, or you discard a trap, your opponent won't be able to respond with monsters and traps because that's what you discarded. So you can also just set Torrential Tribute, set Droplet against that Herald of Ultimateness that I mentioned earlier, and then they're going to summon a monster, you Torrential them, they respond with Ultimateness, you just discard a Dragon Maid card with your Forbidden Droplet, and then boom, they can't respond, and you broke the board just like you did with Solemn Strike. However, this card's a little bit more versatile because it is a quick play spell, so if you know you're playing against decks that don't have negates but they have back row removal, maybe hold on to this rather than setting this, because when you set it, you can't flip it back up until the next turn. So let's say Tri-Brigade. So Tri-Brigade likes to summon Shurag and banish something in your back row. You can hold on to this in your hand, set a couple cards, they summon Shurag, and then you chain Forbidden Droplet so he can't get rid of any of your cards, and then you can proceed to break the board the next turn, because that deck doesn't really make any negates. Unless you're playing like the Lyrilusk build, but that gets a little bit fuzzy, but you get the point. That was just kind of like a rough example. This one's just a little bit more versatile than Solemn Strike, but both are good going first, both are good going second, and they both help facilitate board breaking trap cards. Then we have the extra deck. We have a couple of fusions in here. We have 2 copies of Dragon Maid Xiao. Xiao's pretty good. It allows you to special summon a Dragonmaid from your graveyard or hand during the standby phase, give you more Dragonmaid's hiding targets, and to trigger their effects during your opponent's turn to give you more advantage. It has a quick effect to be an Omni Negate, can negate any spell, trap, or monster effect by shuffling itself back into the deck and tagging out into the House Dragonmaid. And this is a card that you need to fusion with a Dragonmaid monster and a level 5 or higher dragon. So the level 5 or higher can be literally any of your big Dragonmaids or your Noctivision dragon, which is again why I like Noctivision so much. And of course you're going to get this out with your Dragonmaid changeover, which is really easy to get into. So like I just mentioned, Dragonmaid Xiao has to special summon House Dragonmaid from the extra deck and return itself to the extra deck in order to negate something. So that's why we're playing the 2 House Dragonmaid to complement the Dragonmaid Xiao. So House Dragonmaid, you can either special summon that way, and that's the primary way to do it. But if you're desperate, 2 Dragonmaid monsters or 1 Dragonmaid and any dragon monster with Dragonmaid changeover will special summon House Dragonmaid. So this card has an effect in the standby phase similar to Xiao, but not as good. You can target a Dragonmaid monster that you control, special summon a Dragonmaid monster from your hand or grave in defense whose level is 1 higher or lower than it. It's an okay effect. It gets you a little bit of an advantage, but it requires you to already have a established board set up. And that's why it works so well by being special summoned off Xiao. So when another face-up dragon monster you control is returned to the hand, this is not once per turn, you can actually target a monster your opponent controls and destroy it. So this can help you wipe the board with House Dragonmaid, which is really nice. But again, this is only something that you really want to special summon off Xiao. It's not that great of a boss monster otherwise. Then we have our Link 1 dragons. We have our 1 Guard Dragon Pisty, which gets us access to the graveyard. It rarely comes up, but you know, if you want to make a Boral Sword faster, you can do it with that. And World Legacy Guard Dragon to move it to a column where the zone is pointing to another zone that's also being pointed to. Then you have 3 copies of Striker Dragon. This is literally just a Link 1 that gets your Dragonmaids into the graveyard. We're using literally none of its effects. It's just a good Link 1 to get our Dragonmaids to the grave. We got 3 copies of Hieratic Seal of the Heavenly Spheres. You could probably get away with 2 copies of this, but I highly recommend 3 because this is a control deck. It doesn't do a whole lot of combos, and this is a really good card for the grind game. So this can be made with any 2 dragon monsters, and it has a quick effect during your opponent's turn to tribute itself as cost to bounce a card back to your opponent's hand, and then it'll trigger its effect in grave to special summon any dragon from your deck. And you typically special summon the Nurse Dragonmaid, like I said before, to special summon another Dragonmaid from your grave and get a ton of advantage. I play the Nightmare package, 1 copy of Nightmare Sabrus to pop a monster, 1 copy of Nightmare Phoenix to pop a spell trap, and 1 copy of Nightmare Unicorn to shuffle something back into the deck. These are all really good. The only one I think is mandatory though to play is Nightmare Phoenix, and the reason for that is because let's say you get under skill drain, which really hurts this deck a lot depending on the kind of board you currently have. So Eldritch flips up skill drain. How can you get rid of it? You can link 2 into a Nightmare Phoenix and send it as cost for Droplet. So when Nightmare Phoenix resolves, it's not on the field, meaning it's not going to get negated by skill drain, and all of a sudden their skill drain is getting popped. So that is also another neat synergy with Droplet and why Droplet's so good in this game. You also have Boral Sword Dragon as 1 copy because sometimes this deck just can't get enough damage out if you're not getting those big dragons in the grave, and this is just a way to swing over towers by gaining their attack when it attacks into them, or by switching something into defense position to get a second attack. It just gets you a whole bunch of damage. I wouldn't say it's a mandatory card though. You could definitely, like, if you're trying to make this deck a little cheaper, you could definitely cut to the Boral Sword Dragon and the Nightmare Unicorn. Everything else I think is mandatory in the extra deck. As for Forbidden Droplet, you could go for Forbidden Chalice instead if you want to, you know, lower the amount of URs, because I know they're really expensive after you use your free gems. So this one's only a rare. It's a negate, so it'll work like Solemn Strike, except that this is something your opponent can respond to, so don't expect to be breaking Drytron boards with this, but other than Drytron, it's a fine card. So I'm going to show you guys a couple of replays I had with this deck on my Platinum 1 account. He's going to Extrav, draw 2, set 4, pass. He gets to go first because, you know, I always lose a coin flip in this damn game. Luckily enough, this deck is really good against Eldritch even if I have to go second, and I also have Ice Dragon's Prison in my hand, so I will be able to, you know, have a lot of answers for the Golden Lord and Eldritch in general. I'm going to activate Kitchen Dragonmaid. He's going to chain Scarlet Sanguine, so I'm going to add my Chamber Dragonmaid because I'm going to send it to the grave, and that's going to allow me to use my Hospitality to bring her back from the grave and get her effect. But he's going to chain with Hakero, who's going to banish my Chamber Dragonmaid, so I will miss target and I won't have anything to special summon, so this card does not resolve. I'm going to go into Striker Dragon because I want to try and make Keratic Seals. He's going to hit me with a Solemn Judgment, and that's going to pretty much end my turn. I'm going to set 3 cards and pass. It's now his turn. He's going to start off by sending with a Golden Lord. I'm going to chain with the Ice Dragon's Prison. He targeted, trying to get rid of these Golden Lords from the field, but he's going to chain onto it with Scarlet Sanguine, which is a really good play on his end, because that's going to special summon his Golden Lord before I can target it in the grave, so there's nothing for me to steal. He's going to special summon Golden Lord, and I lose target with IDP. It's now his turn to just wail on me, attack me for a ton of damage, but because he had to use the Scarlet Sanguine, it means that he can't go into Gustav Max because he's locked into zombies. So I am living, fortunately, and I have more than enough to come back from this duel. So I'm going to set Torrential, I'm going to activate Guard Dragon, bring back Kitchen Dragonmaid. Kitchen Dragonmaid's going to get the big dragon into my hand, into the graveyard. I'm going to go and tag out into the big dragon, and that means I will have a big booty on the board and swing across that Eldritch, activate my IDP, and finally banish those 2 Golden Lords that I've been trying to do this whole duel. So this really hurts Eldritch because the way Eldritch works, if you get rid of the Golden Lords, they can't play the game. Even they can have all the skill drains, all the goes-ins in the world, they can't get anything on board or do anything if they don't have Golden Lord. And the good players run 2. They're just very good at keeping them out of the graveyard for Ice Dragon's Prison, but this is like your average ranked Eldritch player, so he's probably playing 3. As you can see, I did Torrential him when he summoned Hakero because I didn't want him to get into an Xyz. Any Xyz can equal Zeus, and Zeus could have easily won him the duel, to be honest, so I didn't want to deal with that. I'm going to normal summon Kitchen Dragonmaid after he sets some cards, get my Parlor in hand. I'm going to do a little neat trick. So I'm going to tag out in the battle phase into one of the big dragons, and the reason I do this, other than the obvious beat stick purpose, is so that I can tag back out into Parlor Dragonmaid, because you don't have to tag back out into the one that already tagged in. So I'm going to special summon Parlor with the effect, use Parlor to dump Changeover from deck to grave. Changeover is going to bounce both cards back into the hand, and I now have everything I need to fusion summon my boss monster, Dragonmaid Xiao. So Xiao's a negate, it gets me a ton of advantage. It's really good in the Eldritch matchup, and it's good in almost any matchup, to be honest. He's going to set some cards from the grave, and it's now going to be his turn. I'm going to activate Xiao in the standby phase to bring back my Kitchen. Kitchen's going to get me a follow-up play in Chamber Dragonmaid. I'm going to discard the Parlor since I don't really need it right now. He's going to Shotgun Extrav, which I have to negate because I don't want to lose to like Skill Drain or anything. But that means he's able to get a free pop with Conquistador and Scarlet Sanguine because, like I said, he's a Papega. He's running 3 Golden Lords. Don't run 3 Golden Lords, guys. Just be smart about your grave management. But he is going to get it off, and that means he will pop my Xiao. And that means I thought I couldn't negate, but I guess the way it's worded, even if I do get destroyed and I don't shuffle back to extra, I do get to negate his extra, which is amazing. And he's going to swing at my Kitchen and not be able to attack directly, which even if he could, it was 500 damage, so I'm still in this. He's going to set some more cards. It's going to be my turn. Sorry for the random cut here, someone called me. But yeah, the cool thing about Chamber Dragonmaid, other than normal summoning it and getting it a trap or whatever, I am going to actually be able to bring back my Dragonmaid Xiao from the grave. So I'm going to enter the battle phase. I can special summon any level 7 or higher Dragonmaid. So I'm going to special summon Xiao from the grave. So now I am back in the game. I now have full advantage over this guy. I'm going to swing at his Golden Lord. He's going to set some more cards, and he's going to set even more cards in the end phase, because that's what Eldritch does. But I'm also going to be able to set my Tiding and my Rivalry, and this is going to be enough for me to win the duel pretty much. So it's going to be his turn now. I'm going to shotgun the Rivalry, and then I'm going to try and get into my Xiao. Xiao's going to special summon a Dragonmaid from grave. He's going to chain White Destiny for whatever reason. I'm going to get my... I forget what I get here. He's going to get Golden Lord, of course. And then I am going to get... Let's see. I got my Chamber from the hand. That's what I did. I'm going to search for a follow-up play with Hospitality, and from here, he's just going to set, pass during the end phase. I'm going to Tiding back his Golden Lord because I know I have more than enough to kill this guy, and I have a negate on board to protect myself from any kind of dumb floodgate. So he's going to summon his Hakero, I guess, because it's the last turn he's seeing Golden Lord. Why not? It's my turn now, And yes, I have everything I need to kill this guy. So we're gonna start with Xiao, bring back a Kitchen Dragon Maid. Kitchen's gonna get Nurse, Nurse is gonna get discarded. And then now I can normal summon my Chamber Dragon Maid. So Chamber is gonna add me an additional Dragon Maid Tiding. I don't really have anything else to add, to be honest. I'm gonna go into Hospitality. He's going to Imperial Order me. I do not care. This is actually great. This means the only thing I have to worry about is a single set card, and I have a single negate for it, so no Solemn Strike shenanigans. I'm going to use Dragon Maid Tiding Engraved to banish itself and special summon Nurse. Nurse is going to special summon Parlor. Parlor is going to dump the last big dragon into the grave, and I can now tag out into all of my big dragons, which means I have more than enough for game, especially since that Golden Lord is no longer in the picture. So I'm going to attack with the pink, attack with the green, swing with the red, and finish it off with Xiao. Alright, this next duel I was actually playing against Blue Eyes, which is a blessing in disguise because your boy bricked, but I do have Monster Reborn, so he's just gonna do some Blue Eyes stuff. I'm gonna fast forward through it because I don't care about Blue Eyes. He's just gonna draw a million cards, summon a dragon or something. I don't know. Yeah, he's doing his thing. But yeah, this is great because he has a level 1 dragon in the grave that I can use as a starter with Monster Reborn. So I'm gonna set my cards, activate Monster Reborn, bring back his tuner, the White Stone of Legend, link it into a Striker Dragon to unbrick my hand, and that's going to activate his White Stone, unfortunately, but I mean, it adds a brick to his hand, who cares. I'm going to activate my Noctivision Dragon since I went into Striker, and that's going to special summon, and he's going to add his Blue Eyes, I guess. I'm going to go into my Hieratic Seals, which assures me that I'm going to be able to grind this guy to death. Noctivision's going to try and draw a card. He's going to Ash it. I guess that's fair, because if I bricked, you don't want me to draw any cards. So I have Seals Tiding and Eyes Dragon's Prison. I'm feeling super comfortable against a freaking Blue Eyes deck, even if it is Chaos Max. I don't care. So it's going to be the start of his turn. He's going to normal summon Sage with Eyes of Blue, adding the tuner from deck to hand. He's then going to synchro into Vermilion Dragon Mech. Pretty good tech card if I say so myself. Unfortunately, it's going to get bounced, so he won't be able to add back a tuner. I'm going to trigger it to special summon a Chamber Dragon Maid to finally get into my engine, and now I am unbricked. I am fully able to play the game now. He's going to Chaos Max me, which he probably thinks he's won the game by now, but unfortunately for him, I have the Ice Dragon's Prison, and even if I didn't, I could have just Tiding to get my monster out of there so he wouldn't deal 8,000 damage. So I'm going to banish the Chaos Max in his weird other dragon, I don't know what it's called, you know the one. And then he's going to get his Blue Eyes back in the hand and pass to me. Good old Brick Eyes, 5 cards in hand, can't make a play. I'm gonna chain my Tiding in the end phase and get my Chamber in my hand, my Tiding in grave, so I have everything I need. I'm gonna normal Chamber to search for the Tiding because it's a great interruption. I'm gonna activate my Hospitality, bring back Nurse. And I realize I kind of messed up here. I forget what the play was, but I was thinking that I had Parlor and I was gonna get into the fusion, but it's okay. I'm still able to interrupt my opponent enough because I'm going to tag back out into the Nurse and then link into a Hieratic Seals and go for Tiding once again. So Seals Tiding, just the best board of all time. It's going to be his turn now, and he's going to set a card, reveal Blue Eyes, special summon Alternative. I'm going to bounce that back into the hand because he can't special summon it again. And I was really hoping he didn't have an Ash or a Goldbuy or something because I would have been screwed. I'm going to send my... I'm going to summon my Parlor, send my changeover. I can English, I swear. He's going to go into Link Haribo. I'm going to bounce Parlor back to hand, bring out a big dragon so he can't. I just felt like being a dick. I didn't want him to attack. I'm going to Tiding, bring back my dragon, bounce his back row, and now all I have to deal with is a Link Haribo and a Spirit Dragon. During the end phase, I'm going to Earnest to get back my Chamber Dragon Maid and activate its effect to search for Hospitality. And now I have another Hospitality because that's my luck, drawing the same card. I'm going to activate Changeover to bounce this back to the hand, activate it again to get out Xiao, the one and only. Big Beat Stick negate. Now I normal summon Chamber Dragon Maid to add the Tiding, activate Hospitality to get my Nurse back. Nurse is going to trigger her effect to special summon back the Parlor. Parlor is going to dump another dragon into the grave. Because now I'm going to try and swing in for lethal. I'm going to bring out the green one, I'm going to bring out the pink one, and I have the Xiao. Oh, I actually have the red one too. I have all the dragons out. We're going to kick their ass. I'm gonna bait out the Link Karibo, gonna swing into Spirit with Xiao, because I know he's gonna tag into a Blue Eyes, his screen kept flashing red. And then I'm going to attack with the red for game. Alright, this is gonna be the last replay I showcased to you guys. We're playing as Virtual World, I'm going second. Looks like a death sentence, right? But I actually know with my hand that I can easily break his board. So I'm just gonna skip all his combo because like who on earth wants to watch Virtual World combo? Alright, he's finally done making his board. Very formidable board right here. True King of all Calamity, shutting down all monsters. Shen Shen getting rid of my graveyard, and Chuche set. How am I going to beat this? Well, I'm going to normal summon Chamber. He's going to chain with VFD. And then I'm going to chain the Forbidden Droplet, sending a trap card and a monster. So my tiding in my my kitchen. So he now can't chain the Chuche to pop his own calamities, because that's how they get by negates and stuff. So that's another broken part about having Droplet in this deck, is not only is it a pseudo solemn strike, but it allows you to basically make it so your opponent can't respond with traps. So now he's responding to the Chuche after summoning my Kitchen Dragonmaid, getting it back from the grave with the Tiding Engrave, which is whatever. I don't know why he decided to pop that out of all things. I'm gonna go into my lore part. I do misclick here, as you're gonna see. I'm gonna bounce back the chamber, get my lore part. I accidentally swing into the VFD. I meant to click on the Shen Shen, but it's whatever because I have Rivalry and I'm also going to have an Omni Negate, so it really doesn't matter, but you know, misclicks happen. I'm gonna set my Rivalry down. He's gonna have his board still up. I'm going to activate Rivalries. I'm surprised he didn't chain the VFD, but now I don't have to chain to negate it, I guess. I'm gonna special summon my Chamber Dragonmaid to get my Hospitality, and now this is really rough for the Virtual World player. They can play around these floodgates if they have Chuche live, but the thing is that Chuche is currently not live. He is going to Harpy's Feather Duster me. I want to protect Rivalry because I know this guy can't play under Rivalry if he doesn't have his Chuche loaded up. So I'm going to tag out into the House Dragonmaid. Plus, I know that the House Dragonmaid is able to pop that Shen Shen, so it's very nice. So I'm going to tag out the Chamber. He's going to max C me to get a 1-for-1 trade, and that will summon my, I think, my Lorepar, and then that'll trigger House Dragonmaid to pop my Shen Shen. His Shen Shen. Why did I say my Shen Shen? And then he's just gonna quit. So that is gonna be it for my Platinum 1 Dragonmaid deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed the replays, the deck profile, the breakdown, the everything. If you did enjoy, make sure you leave a like and consider subscribing for more Master Duel content. My overall thoughts about this deck are that it's a very unique control deck. It's a lot different than just set 5 Monkey Flip, which is something that I hate about Eldritch and True Draco. This is something unique, it's interactive, it's fun, and it's really fresh to play. In terms of competitive viability, I wouldn't say it's a meta deck. I don't even know if it's a rogue deck, but it does seem to do well against other control decks. I have a very easy time against Eldritch and Sky Striker, and it can put a fight against combo if it goes first, or if it draws the combination of Droplet or Strike with another board breaker trap card. Anyways, thanks again for watching. I'm gonna head out now. Peace.